So here you are on Instagram posting artwork. You know, you post all your cool art and you get a DM from someone saying, hey, do you do commissions? How do you respond to them? So all the time I talk with designers, there seems to be like one main issue that kind of people struggle with in the realm of design, and that is communicating with clients. And I think most problems when it comes to working with clients that you'll run into is a communication problem. And that was me. I was that guy early on in design. I was getting my feelings hurt. I was getting frustrated with clients. I was saying things like, oh, they're just a bad client. I don't necessarily think that's the case anymore. And I spent a long time kind of refining my process on how I communicate with clients. It's really changed a lot for me. And so I kind of want to just take the time in this video to like walk you through my process, show you what I do now to kind of jump over some of those hurdles for you that maybe you're going to be running into now as maybe a new designer, maybe you're a seasoned designer and still running into these issues. Come along with me. I want to just talk with you about my process. I get DMs all the time and people want commissions. People want the art that I've been showcasing on my Instagram, showcasing on my social media. I need to have a strong response to them, to communicate with them clearly. The message that I typically get, and I'm sure that you guys will get messages just like these. Hey, do you do commissions? Also, what is your rate? Or they'll ask, what's the cost gonna be? I try to never really address that right out the gate. I've found that that's typically a good way to not make a sale or not like get the job if you just don't communicate clearly with them at the start and you just like say $500 or whatever your price is. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for a connection with a person. The very first thing that I always do whenever someone reaches out to me about that kind of thing, I first ask them some questions about them. Just some basic, simple stuff. Just a little message saying, what are you trying to get? Are you looking for a t-shirt design, a branding package, logo work, a tattoo design? My rate varies and changes a lot based on what they're trying to get. The next thing that I do, this is really important, is I set up a phone call with them. I know a lot of people don't like phone calls. Human connection, interaction, just talking on a phone is really vital. I feel like I constantly get messages from people and clients saying, hey, thank you so much for hopping on a call with me. And that's what matters. This is kind of what goes on the call. We're keeping it light. At this point, I've found out through the DMs what they're looking for. Tell me a little bit about your business, just to get a good general idea of who they are and where they're coming from. It sounds kind of basic, but it's just getting to know your client. I tend to find important information of like, oh, are they a church that I'm working with? Are they a clothing brand? And all of this helps me gather some information, have a notebook out there. I'm writing little notes, not necessarily finding out all the details of the design they're looking for. I typically don't ever talk with them in the way of saying like, yep, I know exactly what design you need and start explaining the design to them. I found that doesn't work very well. A lot of times when you start explaining these abstract ideas, people aren't able to visualize the same way that you're able to visualize, and so that could become kind of a problem for you. Try to keep it brief and just get basic understanding of what's going on, what they're looking for, who they are, and what maybe some of the demographic that they're trying to reach with this design. There's kind of two types of clients. You either have a client that knows what they want or a client that doesn't know what they want. Now, there's kind of pros and cons to both of those. Maybe they're just like, hey, I saw your art, it looks really cool, I definitely want a design from you, but I actually don't really have any idea of what I'm looking for. I just want something that looks cool. Don't fall in the trap of them saying, I just trust you as an artist, whatever you make is cool. Falling into that trap, that's an easy trap to fall into because you think you have lots of freedom, but actually what typically happens, you just draw the coolest skull you've ever drawn, and then they're like, wow, that is not what we were going for. You want to start asking them some questions, pulling some information out of them. What's some imagery that like matters to your brand? What's some like imagery or something that like represents your brand? You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be like, hey, this is what the design you're going to be doing, but we're trying to learn about the client and we're trying to learn about who they are, what's good for them. When I work with any client, I will say around the end of the conversation is, hey, I need you to put together a mood board, just some images to help show me the type of stuff that you like. Go through my Instagram, screenshot a few of my designs that maybe you like, of like that style that stand out to you. Go on Pinterest if we're doing like a logo or branding package. If there's any brands that you've seen that like inspire you. Another good question to ask, what's the goal of this design? Who are we trying to reach? What are you trying to accomplish with this design? These are just a variety of questions for you to learn more about what they're looking for, put that information together, be creative, and make them a design that they're gonna really like. Now, the other side of things is you're working with a client that knows what they want. That can be really easy to work with unless they have an awful design idea. You know, art is subjective, but if you're a designer and you've been in this industry for a bit of time, you've probably ran into someone that they're like, all right, this is my idea, check this out. And you hear it and you go, okay. and you can tell like, all right, this design is kind of rough, or maybe there's issues with the design. I've done this a lot of times where I've ran into someone saying, all right, hey, they sent me the reference image and they're like, I want this exactly. And I have to explain to them, I cannot do that for you. This is copyrighted stuff. I'm not stealing other people's work. If you have a client that has, let's just say, a bad design, I'm gonna kind of give you some ideas and information on how we can guide that client to make a better choice. Now, with the bad idea that they might have, explain to them, hey, this is why this design's not gonna work. Now, something that will also happen is sometimes you run into people that just will not budge on their bad design idea. They're like, nope, it has to be this. This is the only way this design's gonna work. And you got a couple options at this moment. One thing that you can do is just not take the job. I've done this many times, especially when it comes to tattoo designs, where someone is looking for a design that is outside of my realm of art. You know, as a designer, you don't have to take every single thing that has to do with art just to make some money. Your life's probably gonna feel better without all that stress of like, man, I don't know how to do a realistic lion, but this person needs a realistic lion, and you're like forcing yourself to draw this thing that's just not gonna work. And so all the time, I'll tell people, this is what I do, this is what I excel at. If that's not what you're looking for, then I don't think I'm the right fit. Worst case scenario is we do have to show them that their design doesn't work. In doing that, sometimes that person will say, oh, I love it. Oh, it's awesome. That's exactly what I was looking for. And you in your designer mind are saying, wow, this looks so stupid and I hate it. And you have a choice at that point to just say, I don't give a rip. I'm gonna make money off this design and I'm just gonna finish it and give them a bad design and say, here you go, man. That's what you wanted. And they're gonna be like, thank you. This is the best design I've ever seen. And then you know that it does not look great. But sometimes we just gotta bite the bullet, just deal with it. Hey, you made money from that design and that's the goal. That's your choices. Either make money or don't make money. And you kind of have to weigh the cost of how much stress does this put on my life versus how much money am I making from this? At this point in our call, we've kind of found out some rough ideas of what this client is looking for. We've learned a little bit about them. The next thing that I like to do is very clearly explain to them my process in designing. I give them the full rundown of everything for them to have no expectations outside of what I've shared with them. And I think this is really, really important. Communication is key. That's what this whole video is about, is communicating clearly with your clients so that you never run into any issues where they're saying, I thought you were gonna do this, or I expected this from you. The first thing that I'm gonna do is get a mood board from you. I'm gonna get some information from you, and then I'm going to send you an invoice. And once that invoice gets paid, I am going to jump into the design. I sketch out a rough concept on my iPad. I tell them that I use red pencil so they understand that, hey, this isn't the finished digital design, because sometimes in the digital medium, people will get confused. Once I get that sketch, I'll shoot it your way, and I don't do anything with the design until I get feedback from them. I also let them know the sketch phase of this design is where I try to get most of the refining and revisions done in this design. That is so much better to do your revisions in the sketch phase versus I just did a full illustrated, I colored it, everything's perfect, I send it over to them. It's so much harder for me to change designs later in the design. This is the feedback that I'm looking for. I'm looking for what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Are there elements of the design that you like and maybe elements that you don't? Once I get the thumbs up from you on this design in the sketch phase, I'm gonna jump back into this design and begin lining it, refining it, and going to that next level. And so I cover all of this on that call with them right there. They love to hear, oh, this is the process that you do. All of this is excellent for communication and it helps us work together more effectively. So after I have covered everything about my process and we've kind of come up with a little bit of an idea of what they're looking for, now I'm jumping into the cost. The very first question they asked was, hey, what does it cost to get a commission? I've not covered that until I've already established all this other stuff with them. Now, the reason that I do that is because I've already established who I am. I've established all these good things that they're to be expected from me. If I would have just started in that DM, told them the price and just expected them, maybe they'll pay an invoice, maybe they won't, most likely I would not have made the sale. Most likely I wouldn't have gotten a client off of this. And so I clearly explained to them, all right, so for a t-shirt design, it's gonna cost this much money. There are still times where people will say, oh man, I really wanna work with you, but that's kind of outside my price range. Hey, that's okay. Once you've saved up some money, reach back out to me. And I'm not afraid to say that. And I think that's a helpful thing to them, to just be level with them and say, this is what I cost. My price isn't really changing. I've had people fall off and I never hear back from them. I've also had a lot of people be like, okay, in 3 months, I'm gonna be reaching back out to you. I'm like, sounds great, let me know. 3 months later, I'll get a message from them and say, hey, we saved up some money. We're ready to pull the trigger on this, because they're so excited after I talked with them this whole time and communicated with them what we're doing. One other big thing that I like to cover with my clients is turnaround time. Now, this is huge. This is something really important, and I've seen a lot of young designers miss this step and run into a lot of problems. I've ran into that problem as a young designer where I didn't clearly communicate how long this was gonna take. I normally tell people for t-shirt designs, that type of stuff, it's around 2 weeks. I can get the design done as quickly as you can respond back to me. That is such a huge thing, and sometimes you'll run into issues where it's like, I told someone, hey, this is gonna be a 2-week process to make this design, and they pay the invoice and I sketch up the design and send it over to them, and then I don't hear anything back from them for like a week. All of a sudden they hit me back, they say, oh, sorry, I was on vacation. Yeah, I like that direction. Or maybe they have revisions and they're like, oh, could you tweak this or finesse this? So I'm like, all right, yeah. But we're a week behind in the process. But if I didn't let them know about this, like sometimes they'll expect like, hey, this 2-week mark hit and you didn't give me my design. What the heck is going on? I can't move forward until I get approval from you. That is the call. That's the call that I'm hopping on with my clients, and that's how I clearly communicate with them. The reason I'm sharing all this stuff with you guys is because I want you guys to succeed and make money as a designer. I want you to love your designing experience. And I've seen so many people over the years just have like a couple bad experiences with clients and give up drawing pictures for clients forever. And they're like, well, I wanted to pursue art as my career, but I just don't like working with people, and I just hate working with people, and it sucks. And like, dude, it doesn't have to be that way. Clear communication, clear expectations with your clients will make this process so much more enjoyable for you, where you can actually make a real living off of this. So man, communicate with your clients, talk with them, let them know what to expect, what you're gonna give to them, and let them know clear prices, clear expectations all around. If you can do that, I really believe you will have a good experience as a designer, and you will make money, you will provide for your family, and you will have a really enjoyable career. Thanks for watching. We'll see you there. We'll see you in the air, and we'll ARF on you later, little doggies. ARF!